Hey guys, welcome. A few weeks ago, we went over a video of how I research and create some of my best-selling designs. But today I did want to go over some additional tips that you should keep in mind when you are actually designing for print on demand. And if you are just starting out, some of these may save you tons of trouble down the line by figuring out how to get the best quality print before you get some angry reviews. And if you do not know me yet, welcome. My name is Christina. I am a full-time print-on-demand seller who just finds fulfillment sharing with others how I was able to quit my job using print on demand. My first tip is keep it simple, especially if you are selling apparel like t-shirts and sweatshirts. Over designing may actually work against you. It takes up more time and it's actually less desirable. If you look through Etsy and try to find some best-selling t-shirts, I can guarantee at least 80% of them are probably just text on the front of a shirt. Nothing complicated, no crazy major graphic design involved. Simple sells with print on demand and apparel. My favorite way to create simple designs is really just find a beautiful font. Fonts make or break a shirt. They really change the vibe of what you're going for. So I like to make sure first I am looking for a beautiful font, and I love to do that using Creative Fabrica. They have thousands of really different types of fonts that you can use that aren't found just anywhere on the internet. So they're not already available to you on Canva or Word, but they have just a beautiful library of fonts that look amazing on apparel. So here's what I mean. I just opened up Creative Fabrica, and just opening up their fonts, this is what comes up. This vintage one is beautiful. Hermona. Let's see. Sabaton. No. They're just beautiful and super decorative. So they're not going to come pre-installed on many programs, but you can grab them here and then bring them into Canva to use in your designs. And then I don't know if you're like me or majority of the people, but if I have any sweatshirts or t-shirts, they are super minimalistic. Either they have just a right across the chest, maybe a word, or I like a little like symbol in the corner of my sweatshirt. Because I don't like large graphics on my sweatshirts, I just want the shirt to convey what I'm trying to get across, whether it's a movement, whether it's a gift or an activity or a career I am proud of. My second tip when designing for print on demand is make sure you are using a large enough canvas and large enough graphics so that when you print, your print is not blurry. When I am designing, I like to make sure my canvas size is 5,000 pixels by 5,000 pixels, and that I am saving it at this size. This ensures that we have enough information within our canvas size that when we save this and print this, the printer is able to print this clearly. With a smaller canvas size, we are going to have to scale our design upwards, which may cause it to be blurry. And when the customer gets this, it's not going to have clear edges. And then when you are saving this as a file, you want to make sure that you are saving this as a PNG file with a transparent background, and you want to make sure your size is at least 5,000 by 5,000 pixels. Another thing that is so important is choosing the right colors for your design. People assume that because we can see a color on our screen that it is going to print the same, but that is wrong. What we see on the screen is using a color spectrum called RGB versus we print with CMYK, which does not cover exactly the same range of colors as what we can see on our screen. So neon colors are not going to print well. Something you should not be using in your designs is printing with a transparency. They can't print transparency when they're using ink. When you are creating mock-ups or showing people what's going to print, you have to know that it's not going to be as vibrant when it is actually printed as we see on our screen. You especially want to think about this when you think about the colors that you are using to print. I have seen so many people when doing Etsy audits that have a dark green shirt and are trying to print black on it. While it actually might look super cool on the computer, in real life, you are going to get complaints that they cannot read whatever the print says against a dark t-shirt or a sweatshirt. I have experienced this myself, thinking that maybe a dark black print would show up on our maroon sweatshirt. It does not. Keep contrast in mind. The larger the contrast, the better. For me, preferably, I actually like to design only in white and only in black. So then picking which colors each design goes on is super easy. For the light version, the white version, I'm doing the dark sweatshirts. For the black version, I'm using white, pink, and all of the lighter colors. Once you start introducing tons of colors into your design, it gets harder to figure out which color this is gonna print best on. Another quick tip I wanna tell you about is whites are not going to print very well against a black or another dark sweatshirt, but there's actually a workaround for this. In Canva here, you're gonna see that we have a white against a dark. I'm gonna pretend the dark is a sweatshirt. But the problem here actually is if you take a look at this, this is printing with a hex code of FFFF. This means the printer is just going to print one coat of white. But there's actually a secret hack to getting them to have to print this twice. And that's using a different color code. And the one I like to use is hashtag FCFCFC. It looks white. It's got a little bit of a hue to it that we really can't see with our eye. But this forces the printer to actually have to print 2 layers of white, making it stand out a lot more and look a lot less faded against dark color backgrounds. To make this easier to remember, I actually created my own whites right here. I have white for printing. You can create your own by going into your Canva settings and editing your brand kit colors. Rename them. I called mine white for printing. So I always know not to use these document colors or the default colors, but to use the white that I have created. That is the hashtag FCFCFC. And my last tip is if you are using graphics from other platforms, even Canva, be extremely careful with which ones you pick. Canva, unfortunately, is a raster program, meaning they go by pixels. So scaling up an image when it looks small, even though you got it from Canva, making it a bigger file may actually cause extreme pixelation, again, causing issues with this printing super blurry. If you are grabbing a Canva file and you are making it a lot bigger, make sure you are zooming in to make sure it, even on the screen, it does not look pixelated, it does not look blurry. Otherwise, it's going to be even worse when you print it. Grabbing these images to use from Canva, from Creative Fabrica, buying them on Etsy, it doesn't matter where you get them. If they were not made in a high resolution setting, then scaling it up is not going to matter. If you bring it up to that 5,000 by 5,000 pixels with a big DPI, it doesn't really matter if it still looks pixelated. You just stretched it out and we lost a lot of data anyway. So make sure that when you bring in a file, it's already decently big, that you don't have to majorly scale it up, and make sure you're zooming in to make sure it doesn't look pixelated on the screen. If it's possible, if you can find vector format photos, that's even better. Vector format, like an SVG file, instead of having it be by pixels, it's using a mathematical equation to figure out the lines and the curves, and it's actually scalable, and it doesn't cause any pixelation when you are bringing up the file or bringing it down. All of this is even more important if you're ever trying to print a photograph. Say you take a picture on your phone, but you're trying to blow it up to the size of a billboard. It's not going to look good. You need to have taken that photo with a camera or some type of system that is able to capture enough data to be able to scale it up that high. Make sure you are using high resolution graphics or images in all of your photos, because even if you have a $5,000 by $5,000 canvas, if it has already been stretched out and it looks pixelated in there, that's not gonna fix it. Thank you guys so much. I hope that some of that was helpful for you, especially for people who are just starting to design for their print-on-demand products, that you learned something new to avoid some mistakes further down the line. Thanks guys, and I'll see you next week.